Today, I'm excited because I have a new guest with us, Dr. David Klieger from Aspen Publishing, and he's going to talk about the JD Next program, which is new for some of us. So this is going to be some really good information, introducing you to a new program that will help you on your law school application journey and throughout law school. So let's dive right in. For those of you who don't know me, I am Dr. Nadia Castriota, and I am the Director of Law Student Success and an admissions advisor here at Barrier Breakers. I'm so excited today to have my colleague, Dr. David Klieger, to discuss the JD Next program. Welcome, Dr. Klieger. So happy to have you here on our podcast. And please talk to us a little bit. I would love for you to introduce yourself and let us know how you got into the JD Next program and with Aspen Publishing.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for this opportunity. So I have a background both in law as well as in psychometrics and statistics. So I attended the University of Pennsylvania Law School quite a number of years ago, and then I practiced law for a number of years and decided I wanted to turn in my career trajectory, and so I pursued a PhD in industrial organizational psychology at the University of Minnesota. My specialization there was in psychometric statistics, quantitative methods, and after my my degree, I went and worked for ETS for a number of years in a technical scientific role. And as part of my role there, I did some work on leading the GRE efforts to try to create an alternative admission test for law school. And as part of that process, I learned also about JD Next, and it really seemed to be an incredible tool, and it transitioned over to, that is JD Next, transitioned over to Aspen Publishing, and I saw a great opportunity to help support that product at Aspen. And so currently that is the work, that is where I'm doing my current work to support the JD Next efforts.
Nice, thank you. And so I'm not going to lie, I want to, keep it 100 here for our listeners. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there that are unfamiliar with Aspen Publishing and the JD Next program. And so I am just excited to have you talk more about the program and how this can be helpful for our clients. So please, introduce us to the program and tell us a little bit more about how you got into working with Aspen and the creation or, the research that works towards the JD Next program.
I'd love to, thank you. So JD Next is an 8-week asynchronous online course which simulates an actual contracts law school class that you might take as a JD Next student in law school. It's authentic. It looks like, in many ways, an actual law school class. And contracts law, which is what's being simulated here, is a core first-year class that all JD students take. And it also, at the end, has an authentic-looking law school final exam that tries to simulate the experience one would have if one were actually attending law school. There are course assistants, and there's various kinds of assistants along the way in the course. And the course is designed to teach underlying legal reasoning and writing skills which are transferable beyond just contracts law. So the primary purpose isn't as much to teach the substance of contracts law, rather it's to teach those underlying critical reasoning skills that law students and lawyers need to be successful. JD Next provides 3 core benefits. One is a preview of what law school is going to be like. So if you're not sure if law school is going to be right for you, for only $299, you get to figure out if law school is for you before you make that enormous commitment to law school, which is an enormous psychological commitment. It's a huge financial commitment. I mean, you could easily spend, $35,000 per semester on law school. And you also don't want to find out that law school is not for you if you're struggling with your grades, because your early grades in law school are so impactful on your career opportunities. So before you get into all of that, you get to better figure out if law school is for you. So there's that huge preview benefit. And then there is that benefit that I've already described, which is the preparation piece, the course. And there is scientific research that has been published in peer-reviewed journals that shows that you can expect to receive a zero point 0.2 law school GPA boost by participating in JD Next and taking the final exam. And that benefit holds across different racial and ethnic groups. We looked at that as well because we wanted that part of it to be fair. And then there is the admissions piece of all of this. And research has shown, this is scientific peer-reviewed research, it has shown that the JD Next exam is powerfully predictive of law school grades, and that the score gaps that you traditionally see between different racial and ethnic groups on standardized tests are, if existent at all, much smaller on the JD Next final exam. So there's also that huge equity component as well. So you have both the validity and the fairness aspects of the JD Next experience that we think are essential for the current state and future of legal education, law school admissions. And we think that this is why, JD Next is such a great new tool for people deciding on whether to go to law school, where to go to law school, and for law schools to, have that, preparation part for their incoming students, a process that is really fair and equitable for multiple stakeholders.
Wow. Okay. So you said so many important things right there. You talked about the price, you talked about the course, and this is a virtual course, right? Students can register for this class anywhere, wherever they are, correct?
That is correct. We offer this year, we're offering 3 courses, and
Hmm.
each course has 2 final exams, and we're looking to the idea of a makeup date as well, but we have multiple exam opportunities for each of 3 different courses throughout this year.
Wow. Okay. And so our role here at Barrier Breakers is really to support our students as much as we can through the law school admissions and application process, and to, whatever we can to support them and provide them with the resources, right? They don't know what they don't know. I say that all the time. So we're here to kind of give them as much information as possible. So just to talk about when would it be ideal for our students to look into this program and to register for this program, right? Because they're in the application process, they're already stressed out and overwhelmed. Would it be the right time for them to do this as they're in the application process, once they know they've been admitted, or is it something that once they're starting to look into the application process or thinking about law school, that would be the prime time for them to actually take advantage of the JD Next program?
So we are working with undergraduate institutions in a pre-law context so that individuals who are still in college can experience the benefits of JD Next. We're also working with individuals who have graduated or who are about to graduate from college, who want to consider JD Next. These may be individuals who've been in the workforce for several years. We're also working with law schools that want to use JD Next as a bridge program, less about admissions and more about just making sure students are prepared for their law school experience. I think individuals can benefit from JD Next at multiple time points. There are some people who are using the traditional schedule for applying to law school, and at around the same time, one might consider taking another admissions test for law school. One could consider JD Next. Maybe also one wants to get that edge in terms of just preparation for law school, and so maybe the timing could be different, because that's a unique aspect of JD Next, the fact that it actually in an authentic way prepares you for law school itself. And then there are some individuals who might be, looking at their scores from other tests and thinking, well, this test wasn't for me. Maybe JD Next is a better option. So they may be looking at JD Next somewhat later in the application schedule. There are a number of law schools that do have rolling admissions, and I think that people could consider JD Next at a later time point in the cycle as well.
Nice. So it's really individualized to that particular person's journey. But definitely a benefit. That's what it sounds like. Definitely. Can you tell me a little bit about how the program started, or what inspired the creation of the JD Next program?
Absolutely. So JD Next began actually as a Bachelor of Law class quite a number of years ago, with the thought being that a really, rigorous, valid, kind of course that was fair would be a great introduction at the University of Arizona, which started all of this. And after a time, it was realized that this kind of program also could be well positioned to help individuals who are considering a JD program. And so it was further adapted for aspirants for JD programs. And then after a number of years under development through the University of Arizona and a little bit at ETS, it's been further developed for that high stakes, admissions context. Originally, JD Next was more just meant as a bridge program, but then it was realized that it could also be a full admissions program as well. So it actually now has multiple uses, and we're further developing JD Next at Aspen Publishing, and we look forward to further development as we learn more and as circumstances warrant.
So that leads me to my next question. How do you see the JD Next program impacting the legal profession in the future?
I think JD Next is a great model for how people should be made ready and evaluated for different parts of the legal career, legal education pipeline, because it does synergistically provide preview as well as preparation as well as evaluation. It's not just, people getting a score stamped on their foreheads. It's about much more than that, and it has that equity concern behind it. And we have, through research, established that it's both providing that fairness piece as well as that, accuracy piece, that efficacy piece. And you don't see that in a lot of areas of higher education. You don't see that overall package a lot. And you especially have not historically seen it in legal education or the legal career preparation pipeline. It's usually more, a la carte and more disjointed, and it doesn't necessarily have a lot of solid research behind a lot of what gets done. But here, JD Next provides the complete package, and we think that that is a great role model for legal education and career preparation more generally. JD Next may be in some ways more proximally focused on law school and preparing people for law school, evaluating their readiness for law school. But law school readiness is a huge component of career readiness. So to the extent we are effectively teaching those key legal reasoning and writing skills, we're also preparing people for careers. And obviously, it's really important to be successful in law school to set yourself up for a successful career, because if you don't do well in law school, your career opportunities will be limited. So JD Next is really, I think, serving as a role model and an effective way of preparing people, evaluating people for law school, which is, again, part of that larger ecology.
Oh, I love that. So long term, right? It's not just something to use in the admissions process or for law schools to evaluate students in the very beginning, but the students can take advantage of the program throughout, right, as a tool to help them in their second year and third year as they continue the journey looking to what they want to do after law school as well. So that's very important. Thank you for sharing that. So do you do cohorts, or is it just students in the program?
So it's both. So you can have individuals just deciding on their own that they want to apply to law school through the JD Next experience, and then you have law schools or undergraduate institutions that partner with us, and they say, here's a group of students we would like you to work with to help prepare them. Maybe an undergraduate institution wants to facilitate the admissions process for their students who are about to graduate. Maybe a law school has already admitted a cohort of students and wants those students to be well prepared for law school. Maybe that law school wants to make decisions on who to take off a wait list. and they can use JD Next for that. I mean, it's kind of like the Swiss Army knife of admissions. Really it can be, or student preparation, it can really be used in a lot of different ways.
Wow. Okay. So, can you share with me any recent success stories that you have about particular cohorts, not naming any schools or any students?
So we have a number of amazing success stories with JD Next, and some of the most exciting ones come from non-traditional students. So students who really don't know what they're getting into with the idea of going to law school. They don't really have those social connections. They don't really have family members who even have attended college, let alone law school. And while JD Next, I think, is a tremendous benefit to everybody who takes JD Next, it's especially in some ways beneficial to those who don't really know what law school is going to be like. And so that preview piece and that preparation piece is especially helpful. And then there are a number of students, who have concerns about equity. And as I mentioned, JD Next has been very much focused on equity as well as validity. And so I think a lot of students have benefited from and have been made comfortable with this idea that the JD Next program, is fair as well as valid. And they've told us that, and they've said that JD Next has really helped them, pursue their dreams, and that's a really gratifying thing to hear.
That's good to know, and really good for our listeners as well. You mentioned equity and validity, and so how do you address any issues of bias or fairness in the testing?
So we do that in multiple ways. So we do that with the development and continuation of the course itself. The fact that it does provide that preview and preparation in and of itself promotes equity, because not everybody knows what law school is going to be like, and they have an opportunity to sort of decide to go for it or not go for it before actually investing money, other resources. And we think that that's both equity for everybody and particular equity for certain groups. And then when it comes to further redesign of the course, when it comes to design of the final exam, we're very sensitive about equity issues, and we do research to look at whether we are in fact promoting equity. So when we design the test, for example, we look for things like differential item functioning and other things which we would not want to see with the items on the questions on a test. So we look at that. We have subject matter experts look carefully at the content of questions to make sure that they're fair and not asking things that are going to be inequitable for particular groups. We're also looking at the validity piece as well throughout that whole process too, through psychometric efforts. And then we, carefully design our tests. We take those questions that have been vetted, and we use those questions to appropriately design our tests. And then we make sure that the test administration process is fair. We make sure that that runs smoothly for everybody. And then after the test is administered, we also look at how it did. So we check on the front end and we check on the back end to make sure that it is operating fairly. So we do analyses of validity, and we care about the test having those smaller, if non-existent score gaps. Hopefully non-existent score gaps, but definitely at least much smaller score gaps than one generally sees on standardized testing. So that's another important part of our analysis after administering the test, to see that, again, the score gaps are hopefully non-existent, but at least much smaller than what we see elsewhere. We also track people, and we'll be tracking people in law school to see that JD Next is truly promoting people regardless of background.
Nice. So there is extensive research pre and post that goes into this. It seems like very individualized as
Yes.
well, per the cohort or the student that is taking the course. So that's amazing. And so, we talked about success stories and things like that. But, on the flip side, what are some of the challenges that you foresee for the JD Next program, if any?
More immediately, we're newer programs, so we're trying to get the word out there. So that's an inextricable part of being new, but we're really excited. We're having great success, and people are are really delighted with the experience. So we're very optimistic about the future. And we do know that legal education might change in the future. We see things like the introduction of AI and new technologies, which may change legal practice, and that might have what they call a washback effect to legal education. Now, legal education has been very resistant to change for a long time, but these are powerful forces, and maybe by changing what lawyers do, it will change legal education. And JD Next always tries to prepare people for what you're actually going to do in law school. And so if legal education changes, then JD Next would adapt, evolve to meet the current needs of legal education.
Nice, nice. So staying up to date and making sure that we pivot along with the industry as well, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about how you address the bias or fairness in the testing? What do you see? Any changes to the test in the future, or any approaches that you're using to develop the test?
So we are looking at leveraging technology to make the JD Next experience as efficient as best as possible. So I guess I don't want to share, too many of the trade secrets, but I will say that we are, actively engaged in doing some things that I think will make the process more efficient and will, frankly, among other things, allow us to contain cost. We are looking at possible, adaptations to things that we're already hearing are changing in legal education. But these changes, as can be rather slow in legal education. And so we're trying to evaluate, what are those perfect pivot points for making those changes, because we really do want to, serve our population as fairly, as effectively as possible. So we are actually thinking about a number of things doing potentially differently at some point in the future, and we're really excited about that future.
Do you survey students who've gone through the program to kind of see how they feel, once it's completed? And I know you said you follow them through the law school career, but do you have students that, you use as ambassadors or mentors? How does that work so that, prospective students can kind of talk to the ones that are in it to find out more about the program?
So we have had quite a number of students who have taken JD Next say to us, we'd love to help. If anyone needs guidance, please don't hesitate to refer them to me. Um, so we do have that resource, and we are looking to continue to to build those networks out, and supporting students is what we're about. So we're going to continue in those efforts because we know how important they are.
Absolutely. Yeah, same for our students, right? We can talk to them as the consultant or the admissions advisor, but they definitely want to talk to their colleagues to find out, the real deal of how it was when they went through the program. So I asked that question because I know, again, we can tell them everything about the resource and the support, but it just sounds, different coming from their colleagues. So it's great that you have student ambassadors that can definitely talk about the program. So I hope that our listeners, I really hope that you can soak up this information. It might be a little new for you, but that's what we're about, is making sure that we provide you with information and resources that's going to help you throughout your law school journey. This seems like an amazing program that will help you. It's a bonus, if anything. And, taking the program will add to your application process or to your admissions journey. So check it out. Go to the website, ask your questions. That's what we're here for. If you have questions about the JD Next program, please reach out to Aspen Publishing. Again, I just want to thank you, David, for joining us. I mean, any last words to our listeners?
Just to say that if anybody is interested in JD Next, they should not hesitate to reach out to Aspen Publishing. We do have a website for not just the company, but specifically for JD Next. So it's, aspenpublishing.com, and then you can see the link to the JD Next program, and you can also see contact information if you have any questions. And no one should hesitate to reach out, regardless of their needs. And there are no silly questions here. We really want to make people successful, and so please, if you've got a question, please reach out to us. We have 2 more cohorts after this current one starting in May, and then we have a June cohort and then a cohort later in the year. So there are multiple opportunities to participate. And then, of course, we'll have our cohorts for our next calendar year. So, people can go to the website to see what the timing looks like for 2024, and we'll be announcing hopefully not too long what our specific dates will be for 2025.
All right, great. So, thank you so much for listening and joining us for the episode today. If you like this episode, please share on any of our social media platforms. And again, thank you for listening. Until next time, my friends, I will see you soon.